So we have a team focused on health and well-being, which is quite vast, right? Liliana is U Health and UNP. I'm called the social work in UNP. Teresa's like mother of the world, UNP. So we do a lot of different work, but I thought I could just zero in on an example of a partnership to talk about sort of the interdisciplinary nature of our work. So we have a clinic at Heartland called the Heartland Free Mental Health Clinic. And we've been going since 2017. It's a very small clinic, but it's in partnership with the Department of Psychiatry. So I am sort of straddling U Health and whatever we are named campus, right? Into really different systems to help coordinate this work where it's community driven. So it was the community that asked us for culturally responsive psychiatric care, where we felt safe and brave enough to confront about things that were not feeling safe and brave in the larger system spaces. So they started a residency, global mental health residency track for their PG Life 3 and 4, so they're just about finished with their specialty work. And it's a student-led clinic, both with the psychiatrists and the social workers. So the social workers that I supervise are running most of the therapy and needs management. The faculty from HMHI, or faculty that's also working at HMHI, are attending positions for the residents. So it's like this training opportunity and offering this incredible opportunity and access for something that's really difficult to access. And we are so very niche. It's for uninsured adults, a refugee, immigrant, and asylum-seeking background.
How many people are coming on a weekly basis to your clinic?
So we're half a day, once a week. So on average, we see about 6 to 10 patients a week.
Wow.
So pretty small, but making big impact, I think. And then we have community partners too. So the idea is that we're not only just having academic spaces and university pieces, but we have community health workers and it's university access and resources, but interpreter services donates their time for us, right? Like we have all these players that are pitching into this partnership model.
Wow.
And the reason why I wanted to highlight that was because we're talking about creating opportunities and access within a fairly rigid system, right? Like sort of helping the rigid pieces flex a little bit. The Department of Psychiatry had never done anything like this before. We're offering free psychiatric care, right, which is really costly. So everyone's found ways to flex.
If you think about a problem like that, there's a clear need, right? There's no question. The need is not met with an existing, right, even way of servicing it. So you need kind of a new service. And then there's not a funding mechanism to make it happen, right? Thank you very much. Yeah, no problem. Lunch was good. Thanks whoever got that.
Did we want to do a picture?
Oh, yes.
Grab them quick.
Falafel accent.
You got falafel? I did too.
Yeah, I like
You were supposed to get praise, right?
I'm gonna get the cherry slime back.
I don't remember. I've got the spreadsheet, like, that directly came from the form back at the Sprout Valley Hospital. I can see what got in it, because I swear I double checked their list against everybody's entries. Yeah, I sent them the spreadsheet. Yeah. I was so sad that it came so late though.
No, I wanted to have the sweet potato.
Oh, like you can order like a taco bar for like events. Those are pretty good. Those are good. Yeah, it's like, okay, you're Cafe Rio, but you're not fancy.
But it's a good.
2 nights ago. It depends on.
Yeah, they're
Excited to try their soup, their tortilla soup.
I don't do it.
I don't do it. Cuando voy a hacer hacerte. Picture it happen.
Maybe that's why.
Like, we get to see the president at whether it's at the kickoff at Partners in the Park or. So it kind of threw me off. I was like, oh, it's a different president. I know.
He's like, let me see
The meals are so
awesome, and we don't have to worry about something happening just to have the resume. You don't
Most university buildings bring a bit like but there is cake.
No, you're 18.
Yeah, you're not. Julianne?
I think we have the trust of the president's office to mess up really bad with PBI, and it's gonna be okay.
I think especially the painting there, when I looked at the wall the first time I saw it.
To answer a question from my community, what are you doing there, how is this, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for the driver, because now what? She's a part of our race car.
What's the driver?
But I also appreciated, what's her name at the beginning?
Laura.
I loved learning more about UNP, and I guess that's what I appreciate most.
That's great.
Liliana?
I would say that they need to either update their murals or get new ones that balance them out.
Yeah. That was our crazy. So that didn't realize class.
Moses.
There was a naked child. I saw that here. That's so weird.
I know.
It's weird. I'm gonna put that in the feedback that they're requesting.
Thank you. A pro-EDF mural.
I mean,
good to have our work be visible at that level, but I do feel like it was like surface level, that they understand our work is surface level, so maybe helping to engage them more to understand our work.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well, like your facilitation thing where you're facilitating, so it's hard to take notes or participate in things. Me, I was fretting about the food and not focusing on what was being said. But I will tell you, my mind, most of you worked with me long enough to know that my mind was going, wow. And so I was sitting there and I'm thinking about Chris Nelson coming to our board meeting and talking about the question of affinity groups, you know, the Women's Center, the Pride Center, the Black Cultural Center, and all of these things that, you know, how do these things exist? And it's like, okay, well, they can still exist, but they can't be exclusive for those people. They have to let everybody in. I'm like, well, what about the women's room? I guess we better let everybody in the women's restroom. And so suddenly that turned into another political issue, and I'm sitting there chuckling. That's how my brain works, so.
You're clear as mud. Cindy?
Oh, when you talk about concurrent enrollment, I was one of those big numbers. So the uni's all for that.
Yeah, he was competitive about the numbers, wasn't he? Right, Ted?
Just getting out of myself, I enjoyed getting out of the silo of just being on the west side and coming up to see where everybody else goes to work every day and what they see and how they experience and feel it. I enjoyed listening to the history of UNP. I enjoyed the history of the park building that was described to us. I enjoyed the historical architecture of that building. I did enjoy the meetings. There are influential people that have influenced our society up there on those meetings. Yeah, I thought it was overall a good experience.
I guess the big elephant was like the EI question, right? And then to Drew, I was at that stakeholder board meeting, and I feel like no one has an answer to that question. And like the president's also like, I'm trying to figure that out, or we're trying to figure that out. And I think no one's ever gonna have an answer until
He's like, go ahead and read the lie yourself.
Well, that's questions.
Your cookies for time.
So, it was Chris Nelson.
Yeah.
He said, we're gonna follow it to the letter. I thought that was an interesting way.
Do you have a single impression or something that you'd like to share about the time with the president and at the park building?
I enjoy a lot being the first time and how we are questioning to president and their response to us. I learned a lot of things, and yeah, their vision, their commitment towards connecting with the Western Valley, Solid City, around the valley, other organizations, community organizations, their commitment, helping, connecting, and valuing the valuing of the people's voice, their needs. This is what I learned. The lunch was very good.
When President Manchin asked Irene to come and figure this out with him, it was because he had a huge map in his office that had the numbers of where students were coming from all over the state. And he identified that the west side was the one that had less access. And together they figured out, like, how do we do the research? And it was a 2-year research that took place in the west side, asking the community what was it that the university could do. And that's how UNP was born.
And can I add to that?
Yes.
Outside of what was going on with the university in that, and what Irene was doing, there were community advocates who were banging on the door of institutions saying, you're not here in our community. So Frank Cordova, Maria Garcias, our church led the other community leaders were, and frankly, my dad, were like making noise toward the university saying, and I'm sure that had put some pressure on the president to be responsible.
Responsible for knowing it, sharing it, right? Wissam.
Over the years when UNP started, I think the second question came with the, I'm explaining about the map, and like there's a gap in there, we need to bridge it to the west side. All these years, how that became different compared with the map? Like how we make it different as a UNP to bridge this gap?
Students from those zip codes attending the University of Utah.
And before this 0%?
Well, it was a small number,
23
people, and then it increased 900%.
Cool.
And it's not just because of us, right? It's never a
Yeah. But it's good that it's being measured.
Yeah, she did know your name.
I was actually.
Which freaked you out.
Did you get your name?
Yeah.
Not
Did you get your name?
Yeah. She did.
Awesome.
Well, and I think she was a board member when I started, and she recognized me and knew my name, even though I don't think she'd been to that actual board meeting, and then she was on, so I don't think I ever met her, but she knew who I was, and that was kind of like freaking me out, going, I am bad with facial recognition.
No, I didn't know her at all.
Yeah.
She knew my name.
I think she told me that she reviewed her.
She said, she talked about how it was unique that he is from here. And so, which is funny because I immediately saw a parallel to our own work of many of the people here who live in their own neighborhoods where they work in. So his balance of who he needs to be responsible to and who has access to him is greater than she ever saw from other presidents who come from out of state. Because, so they were in school together, was it?
Yeah,
Third and fourth grade. And then their parents were both in Germany at the same time when they were children teaching, which is a part of the President Randolph Taylor Club. And they, yeah. So, but she said he was really relationship driven. So when his sister-in-law's aunt calls and needs a favor, he wants to be present. This is what she's saying, right? And so he's just having a hard time balancing all of the relationships and working where he lives, which might sound familiar to people in this room, right? But yeah, very familiar. Yeah, yeah. Okay, really quickly, the last thing, I just want to go through the people. Thank you for speaking on behalf of the staff. Oh, someone has their, Jenny? What? Everyone, what's happening?
Did we hear the impression of Jenny?
Jenny, oh gosh.
Is really antiquated and sometimes controversial thing that I'm trying to modernize to our current needs. I think it's really cool. And also, to be controversial, I'm really proud of the work that we do. And so it made me feel sort of a way that she kept saying like, our work as UNP, like including yourself and contributing our work. I was like, I see you a part of this work. This is we stuff.
She was a board member, and yeah, she has a story.
But Ruth, she cleaned up garbage with us at first.
That's true.
You know, being in that space and recognizing that it's this system, this rigid system, right? This is the vice president of this and that, and this is the structure, like we heard a lot about the structure, which is, which we recognize sometimes creates barriers to the work we're trying to do. And it made me feel even more grateful that we get to be this little unicorn called UNP that is in the west side of Salt Lake, and then we get paid to do community work. And we get paid to do that by this system that on one hand is super rigid, but they fund us over $1.3 million a year to be able to do this work. So I remember, I forget how, sometimes I forget that I'm employed by, when I walk into that building, I'm like, oh yeah, right? I mean, I appreciate it too. And also feeling more and more like the work is valued is a good thing.
Salama?
just share like an impression or a thought?
Oh, there is something I want to share. But I think we've heard things from his office many times, and I think when he was talking about like the economics of our partnership work, that I think I never understood his stance on it until I actually heard it from him. And I was thinking, and while he was talking, that almost all of our partnerships have grown out of like gaps in systems. And so like the bill I would be like leadership gaps or gaps in mental health, right? And so what I understood from his answer was that his idea is to create partnerships that fill those gaps and then loop it back into the system for it to be sustainable, which makes some sense to me. For example, with Myra, she works with doulas, and the idea for her to then go back into health systems and get reimbursed for the services that her doulas provide in communities, that as a model for all of our other partnerships to be sustainable, I think is good in an ideal world, but I think it's too simplified. He oversimplifies systems because he's in a system.
Privileged and honored, I feel, that I'm invited to a space where even though he pays my paycheck, or even though the university does say, it's your tax money though. Even though I still have the opportunity to speak my mind and I don't get paid to agree. Yeah. And that.
There's one thing he said, I think I knew what I was talking to the city about, but like what he said confirmed what I was thinking about when he mentioned that Governor Cox and legislature asked what the outcomes from the education and how can align with the business need. So that came my head like, okay, so how the legislature and the control every piece of the state, control the people need, rather like when they don't think what the people need, what the business needs. So everything that business being built around the business, how kind of business system, the outcome. Because I was like, what they said is like, we need to bring the jobs that like what the people ask for, rather than just to create education opportunity for the business, not for the people.
And this is what Jared was talking about earlier, right? One of the things that we need to continue to do is to help him and the system understand that it doesn't have the solutions or the answers. And I think he knows that, but doesn't understand to what degree the system is a barrier, actually, to being able to support.
Yeah, because it's a system.
That means when it plays out at a very high level down to what kids and teachers and people who live in neighborhoods have to go through, right? And so that's all, I mean, I don't know, I know I'm getting past what you just asked, but he said it himself, right? That part of the pressure and metric, just a handful of things, right, that the board and legislature cares about is how many high impact economic, and that's exactly what that is, right? That's the global economic force that influences how things trickle down to what is important to learn and teach. And to me, that there's things to break apart there. That's behind all of that. So I don't know how to respond to it.
He was beating around. Yes, I think so.
It's being what?
He didn't give us an exact answer. He was beating around.
He tapped him.
He didn't have an answer. But I understood perfectly what you were asking.
Thanks.
We just lost it. That's why you think you're going to
But he was beating
Okay. When did he say you're welcome?
When they were talking about social impact, and then what else are we going to define that so that it can be defined? It sounds like a logo that we don't define. I'm like, oh, that's okay.
And why did that make you feel that way?
Yeah, it was just, I'm a little man.
Like we're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Ah.
He's not. He was maybe.
He was good.
hungry.
You finished eating after.
Yeah.
He was done eating by the time.
I think he was very polite with his answers, even though he didn't have the answer that we wanted to hear, or he really didn't share his perspective, possibly because he wasn't ready to share yet. He's probably not there yet. I do appreciate that we're still on his priority list, and we do cover a lot of the numbers that they need, right? So it's a work that we need each other in order to get it done.
Did you all hear that? Can you say that again? Oh, just that he's born out of business model. He literally, I mean, Saul already spoke to it. There's an easy path, it's the financial path. Like, fill the gap and then figure out a way to make it, to monetize it. And I hear that as a businessman, it makes super good sense, I'm sure, for him, but that's not the reality of how filling gaps works.
And then keep it sustained in terms of keeping the fund. Whereas for us, to keep something sustained is like, to keep the program active. And different people.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
On my product, I see myself and all of us as part of the system. We are paid by the University of Utah. We have a mission. We have a mission as a university neighborhood partners, and I do think that we all are working very hard to accomplish that to the best of our understanding. And that just by the sake of continuing doing so, we really reach that tipping point in which we don't see all University of Utah, or mostly, I'm going to say, University of Utah white students. And as I was walking out, I was thinking, I almost said it, but now I'm going to say it. Or I'm going to say it. You want to see people of color at the University of Utah? Go to the signal where they are constructing. Go to the construction site. I have direct partners who are undocumented, who come here to build the university, and whose kids are not having the same opportunity for multiple reasons. Because their parents don't see that as feasible, because they themselves are pressed to move, go to work, and make a living, or they have hormones and they become parents, whatever it is.